All right, baby. 2025. Let's get this thing popping. Oh, it's your boy Chadsky coming at you with another video. Give you guys real rock life application. That's the goal of the channel. That's the goal of the Discord. If you want to join my Discord, the Discord link is in the description. I encourage everybody to go over there. Almost 3,000 members on my Discord now. A lot of people in there drumming up these conversations, what to do, how to do it, and all that fun stuff as we get our video ideas and really have a bunch of great people in there that do a great job in coming up with different pairings, different mechanics, different aspects, attributes, talking about it all. And today we're going to focus on Phillip. Okay, I'm getting ready to go into KVK on my alt, and I'm going to run Phillip two different ways. On my alt, I'm going to go ham with him and run him as secondary. I'm going to try out all the different combinations, but with what we've seen, I already know what we're going to do, and I already know what's going to produce. Okay, we're talking about this commander here in Phillip. Let's see. I've got to pull him up as I've gone through a couple of things with him, and I don't quite have him expertise on my main yet, but this is what we're working with on Phillip. Okay, so let's review his kit. All right, we've talked about this a little bit in a previous video that I had, but let's go more in depth. Okay, he's a great buffing march. Okay, he's gonna be a better buffing march than Trajan was, but he's also gonna be able to trade well and do a lot of damage. Okay, so if you see here, you're basically getting a 30% damage effect, if you will, a 30% damage effect for 5 marches. And then for your own march, it's going to multiply that effect times 2. So you're going to get 40% all damage and 20% damage reduction. Now, it's only a 2-second buff, which is kind of a detriment. However, there's a reason why. We'll get to that in a second. Here, this is a lot of fun. This gets with our pairings, okay? Because as we do this, 35% cav attack, 35% infantry defense, 35% archer health. Remember that. And then 20% march speed for any troop type. So he's going to provide a march speed for whatever he runs with. But if you take this into account, this might minimize a little bit of the cav effect because you don't really want to attack. You'd rather take defense, and you definitely love to take health. So this is going to increase some of the capabilities he has with archers on the health. Just remember that. Okay, if you have 2 different troop types, you're going to gain 5% march speed and take 5% less damage. That's actually going to be 15% march speed and 15% less damage. You got to think about that because all of a sudden now he's ramping up the march speed to 35% if you have 2 or more different troop types, okay? However, a lot of people are finding out that we're just going to run him with 1 troop type. It makes it easy. He's very versatile, and you're going to get a 30% damage boost. That's perpetual. That's immediate and perpetual. That is awesome. That is really, really good. You go to his 4th skill whenever this commander launches a basic attack, 10% chance. Okay, so now we got a proc effect. Okay, so combo commanders, look out. This is going to be able to proc more often. It's going to be an 800 damage factor to 3 nearby enemy troops. Okay, now you're going to mitigate that by 15% for each one that you hit. So when you do this, it's going to roll up 2,400 damage factor, and then you've got the 15% mitigation. So it's going to put out, 1,900 damage factor when that thing procs. Also, the rage reduction of having it 100 rage reduction, okay, for 3 targets is amazing. Plus, it's only got a 3-second cooldown. So all of a sudden now, when you start seeing that combo commanders and commanders doing multiple basic attacks are always going to enhance this 10% chance to proc when you launch basic attacks. Luce is going to launch 2 basic attacks 25% of the time. So as we know with Luce and Alex, and we know with Luce and anything instant proc, this could be very, very important. Okay, and you get into his expertise, and this is where he becomes really busted good. But it kind of takes away from some of the other commanders, and I'll explain that later in the pairings. Whenever this commander uses an active skill, they have a 40% chance to use their active skill a second time. That's him. Whenever this commander uses an active skill, they have a 20% chance to use the active skill. The their troops using the active skill, they have a 20% chance to use the active skill a second time. That's the other commander. Okay, so 60% of the time, he's going to fire off twice. Either him 40% of the time, or the other commander 20% of the time. Make note, because that can be a high damage situation. This triggers every 7 seconds. So on average, we'll just say on average, this is going to be every third skill cycle, he's going to fire off twice, which is great. If you get him to fire off, you get this thing, which is awesome. If you get the other commander to fire off, you're going to get more damage if you put him with a damage commander, okay? So what this basically sums up for Phillip, okay, is that he is the most versatile commander in the game. All right. The reason why is because as a leadership commander, he's giving you all troop buffs. Okay. And then at the same time, he's an all damage commander. He doesn't care about skill damage. He doesn't care about smite damage. He doesn't care about combo damage. He doesn't care about true damage. He is an all damage commander, which means you can put him with anybody. You can even put him with Shajar if you want to and ramp up the true damage. Okay, you can put him with Luce, ramp up the smite damage. You can put him with skill damage commanders. It's going to ramp up everything because of his all damage and his all damage bonus here. Okay, it makes him extremely versatile. All right, and I have got, and this is no lie, I'm sitting in a chat and I'm kind of talking to players. I have one player telling me I'm going to run Ashe behind him and set it and forget it. Phillip Ashe, great. Okay, and they're going to go all in with Wedge and all the things with Wedge and Archers and Ashe. And then I had another guy say, hey, I'm going to run him with Ragnar, but I might also run him with Trajan, or I might also run him with CPO and put Echelon formation on him. Okay, so he's doing it more of a buff debuff situation with Echelon, right? And then what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to put my arch stuff on this guy. Let me see my arch. I got an second arch set right here. I'll put this on him, and I'll put Luce behind him. And then I'll go run Gorgo with William Wallace on my main infantry arch set. Okay, so there's all kinds of ways to use this guy. That's kind of the whole point, is that you can use him as a skill damage commander that buffs. You can use him as more of a buffing commander with Echelon. You can use him as a smite damage commander that buffs the smite damage. You can use him so many different ways, and that's what makes him so versatile. Okay, so with that, let's go into his his kit here when it comes to what this guy can do in the field and your talent trees. If you're going to run him primary, okay, and a lot of people have leadership gear, okay, if you're going to run him primary and you look at the talents, I got actually 3 talent builds for you, okay. This first one is what I'm going to run. This is single troop type, all right, and we're going to try to max out as much performance in the field as possible, much damage as possible. You want to come up here and take strategic prowess. Okay, anytime you use an active skill, you gain 20% defense for 2 seconds. That's great. That is not a 3 troop type deal. It's just 1 troop type. Okay, I grab all these things: Hidden Wrath. I grab Healing Herbs. I grab Steely Soul. I grab Fresh Recruits. And since I'm going to run them with Luce, I like the normal damage that I get here. I had an extra point, so I put it up here. But I like the health here. I like the health here. On this side of things, you never want to run a Rejuvenate commander more than 2 out of 3. The rage is so high, you're going to rage cap if you run 3 out of 3. And so you run 2 out of 3 on Rejuvenate. You run Emergency Protection, which is great because it helps you with skill damage mitigation. And then you had extra points here. So that's why I put a point up here. I just had an extra one that I couldn't put anywhere else. And then I put 1 here for health. I put 1 here for health. And then I did attack here because I got 3 here for health. So I've got 1.5% here, another percent here, another percent here, another percent and a half here. So I'm running up like 5-6% health just by grabbing these talents right here. So that's what I'm going to run in the field. Okay. If you're going to run more of a slow effect with this guy, Okay, you're running 3 troop types, but you want to run a slow effect. You put him with rejuvenate, you're gonna really kind of be dysfunctional here because you are gonna rage cap, but that's fine. Some players say I'd rather take the slow. The slow is big time because you do it to 5 nearby enemy troops. Cage of Thorns is not used enough. Okay, this is mega powerful in the field, but we just never had really a commander that we want to go put it on, right? And now that you've got a leadership commander with the leadership tree, you can go do this and put on Cage of Thorns, okay? And then we stick to basically the same thing I had last time up here. You stay away from this stuff because this is a 3 troop type situation, and you get the points necessary. So that is a slow one that you might want to play with. The 3 troop type ones, okay? If you're going to put him with Ethel, if you're going to put him maybe with Trajan, or if you're going to run him with Mulan or something like that, and you want to go 3 troop types, then all of a sudden you can go armed to the teeth, okay? This is going to let you do 3% more damage. Armed to the teeth over here is going to let you take 3% less damage, okay? And so you stick with this strategic prowess, you run the rejuvenate to 2 out of 3, and then you run emergency protection. I put the extra point right here, and that's how you look on the 3 troop type. So those are the 3 different types of talent trees that you can see. Single troop type, let's see, single troop type that I'm going to do max damage with, the slow if you want to use a slow effect, and then the 3 troop type. Okay, so those are your talents, and that gives you kind of an idea of how you want to run this thing, okay? But the beauty is he's so versatile, you can put any equipment you want on him. The beauty with what I've got and why I'm going to stick to infantry is because I've got this equipment right here. And this is already like tiered up to level 3 on a lot of my stuff and level 4 on the gloves because I love Canyon. And I'm such a Canyon junkie that I like putting it on Trajan and having the effect of, let's see here. We're having the effect of the troop capacity at tier 3. So now I can go to tier 4 with a lot of that stuff and then run any infantry commander I want behind this guy. Okay. And so now that we figured that out, let's talk about his pairings. Let's talk about how you want to run him and how you want to kind of do the pairings, because he can go primary or secondary. So versatile, he can do anything. Okay, so let's bring up our trusty pairings list here and kind of look at how we're going to do this, okay? These are Phillip pairings. This is how we're going to set this thing up, fam, okay? And we're going to have an S tier and an A tier and then kind of a niche tier, okay? So for the S tier, I think the most popular thing we are seeing with crazy good reports is when people are running Phillip with Luce, and they got leadership set on that. Phillip with Ash, and they got a leadership set on that. Okay, and then people also run Phillip with Ragnar. I think you can easily run this the other way. Now, you might not get the all damage hitting on the second commander, but you still have the 30% perpetual all damage that he does, plus he does the active skill to fire off again. So I would say you could also run him behind Luce. Okay, you can also run him behind Ash, and then you can also run him behind Ragnar. Those are the 3 I think you're gonna like. Those 3 different pairings, you can run them either way. Those are gonna be the best damage dealing pairings in the field. We're just gonna call this field damage. Okay, that's what you want to do. You have other options that you could do. We don't know enough about Arthur. Okay, but Arthur could go here, or he could go here. Once we find Arthur's skills, which I think is tomorrow, we can kind of get an idea. So I'm going to put him there for now, okay? I'm going to put him with CPO here because I like CPO behind him. He does the debuffs. William Wallace you can put here. CPO you can run primary. William Wallace you can run primary, okay? Arthur you can run primary. All right, and so you can even run William behind him because if you get the extra proc on William's stuff, that's great. So if you've got leadership gear, you can run this stuff with these other commanders. Nevsky's pretty good if you want to run him with cavalry. I just put Nevsky and Huo at the back. And the reason why is because we had talked about it. He's only does 35% attack attribute to Phillip when it comes to cavalry. Okay, so he does 35% defense on infantry. He does 35% health on archers. That's why the archers are so popular with this guy. And that's why the infantry is so popular, because you just run up a ton of defense. Okay, so that's kind of what you have for your different tier lists. But you can try out anything you want. If you like people think, Wallace, if you're running Wallace and Luce and you want an upgrade, and let's say you've got leadership gear and you've been running like Trajan stuff, and you get Phillip and you want to run him and put Wallace behind him, he'll do wonderful. This will do absolutely wonderful. And then you can go put Alex behind Luce and run that. So there's all kinds of different options with the most versatile commander in the game. Now, on a niche situation, okay, you can maybe run him with Ethel, and you can talk about that Cage of Thorns talent build I talked about. And this is more of a debuffing march, but imagine how often this thing fires off. And if Ethel's firing off, you're just debuffing all the targets. There's all kinds of things you can do between him and Ethel. Plus, you can run 3 troop types, and 3 troop types gives you 35% march speed. That's crazy. Okay, and so with that being said, in a murder ball, I think in OL, you're going to see some crazy Phillip Ethel combinations. You're going to see maybe Phillip with Trajan. You're going to see all kinds of stuff in OL. But I think Phillip is a set it and forget it. Whatever you're going to run, you can run Phillip, and we'll find out more and more. I also put this thing up there just because me and Attila. You put Attila up here. This is a counter rally situation, or if you just want Phillip to last in the field as long as possible, put him with Attila. It's not going to be focused, and you can keep those buffs going. Plus, he does all damage. That just helps Attila, okay? And so that gives you maybe kind of a niche field march you could run. And then you can also run him for counter rallies. Now, Attila has so many different counter rallies that he can run. I don't know if you're going to get a better performance than Attila Takeda in a non-artifact KVK, but in an artifact KVK, you're definitely not going to get any better than Attila Martel if you're trying to just kick out damage. And so that's kind of a niche situation. But this gives you the pairings, exactly how you want to run Phillip. And I love this commander. I think he's broken, y'all. I think he's absolutely broken. I think what you can do in the field with this guy, he's so versatile. And I told everybody, listen, if you are growing your account, all right, and you're growing your account, you're trying to figure out exactly what's going to work for you, this guy will be a great investment. He's not just a stopgap commander, okay? He is literally a commander that if you're building your marches, if you're going from the 3rd to 4th march or 4th to 5th march, and you want to kind of look at how this guy performs, he is going to do great. He's not just going to be like a Honda or a Mehmet. That's okay, and it's a stopgap because I want to run, let's say, 2 cavalry marches, and I've got Nevsky, Joan, and Huo, or I've got Huo and Joan and Nevsky, but I don't have anybody else, so I put Mehmet with him. Well, you can put this guy with him. Okay, and it's the same thing with archers. If you've got Zuge and Herman and you got YSG and you're like, what do I do with this? You can even play around with that and run Zuge with Phillip, and then put Herman with YSG. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. So he's just not just a stopgap that you can sit here and say, hey, this guy, he's gonna give me some serviceability. No, he's gonna help you grow your account, grow your commanders, and as you're growing your commanders, he's going to provide meta pairings for you, and you can switch him around wherever you want. That's what makes this guy so versatile, okay? And some of the things that we talked about, and on the pairings list, you notice I did not have a few pairings on there for Phillip, and let me explain why, okay? A couple of pairings. Any commanders that does any kind of active skill procs, okay? Zuge does it with his marquee effect. He'll do his active skill again, okay? And another one that does it that's very, very popular, where's our guy? Herman does it. He'll fire off his active skill again, okay? And when this happens, and probably the most notable, and if you notice, I did not have Joan on the pairings list. And the reason why is because when you have commanders that fire off a proc a second time for their active skill, well, he's already giving that to you. And so when you add a commander to do that, like Joan, it slows down your rage gain, and it basically you can't rage more than once. Sometimes it'll try to literally shove 3 and sometimes 4 active skills in one rage cycle. Well, that's just going to turn your rage cycle into a 10-second rage cycle. Okay, so you get diminishing returns on that when you put Phillip with extra proc commanders. Okay, that becomes a problem. So you don't want to run him with Joan. Okay, you try not to run him with Herman, and then you don't want to run him with Zuge. You can with Herman and Zuge because their procs don't go off that much, but it's not ideal. Okay, you probably still could, and it'd be a great march. But the whole point of that is that you don't want to run him with Joan. Okay, it becomes deficient. You can't fire off your active skills fast enough because you're doing active skills, and so you don't want to do that with Joan. So that's what you saw in some of the pairings, is that we don't want to get ourselves into a situation to where we're being deficient with how we're running that. But overall, this dude is amazing. He is the most versatile commander in this game. I think he's a must bring for big murder balls and big murder ball fights. You got to have it. You got to have the buffs for all your marches. Okay. And then you got to have the 40% chance for him to fire off again and the 20% chance for the other commander to fire off again. Okay, and we talked about some of those pairings, and of course I had Luce on there, and he talked about the combo stuff. You want this direct damage he does, this proc damage he does, firing off as much as possible. So you've got some synergies there, obviously, with Luce, and then we'll see how it works with Phillip. But Phillip, for anybody that doesn't know who this guy is, this is William Wallace's father. Okay? And in Macedonia, in Greece, these guys did work. And who knows, maybe in that niche category that I showed you here, let's see, let me pull it up just again. Maybe in this niche category, we should put like a Phillip with Alex, right? You never know. Put Alex behind him and see what kind of buffing, debuffing that does. It's really, really good and interesting, but I love the commander. Cannot wait to use him. On my alt, I'm going to use this guy as a secondary. On my main, this account here, I'm going to use him as a primary, mainly because I've got the gear to do that with, and I'm going to do it with infantry. So we'll find out more, but in the meantime, there's your kind of your ultimate Phillip guide, talent trees, skills, pairings, going through all the things and what this guy provides. And if you like the video, throw a thumbs up on it. Subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, and it really helps support what we're doing. We've grown the channel immensely over the last couple of months. I was just voted the Rise of Kingdoms Best Emerging Content Creator of 2024. And so just in a couple of months, we've got 7,400 subscribers. Okay, so subscribe. Throw a thumbs up, join the Discord, be a part of the community that we've helped build and are having a great time with. And until next time, you stay saucy, everybody.